Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BUSR F1 series. Your eyes do not deceive you. We are here this week, and we are here for round number 2 at the Las Vegas circuit. It is the new jewel in the calendar, and I think we could be seeing quite the few skirmishes in this track that does lend itself to overtaking, but also, as I think we'll find out, lend itself to crashes. Just to address the elephant in the room, or in our case, the elephants that weren't in the room last week. We apologise for the lack of stream, availability issues causing an exodus of talent out the door, and we had nobody available to stream. But we're back for the rest of the season, and I'm very excited for it. In the virtual commentary box for what is technically round 2, but for us it's round 1. It is myself, Tom, and it is Alex. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing very well, thank you. Yep, it was an absolute pleasure to be commentating last season round, and I'm back again for the majority of this season, for that matter, in the virtual commentary box anyway. So yeah, it was a bit of an interesting race last week. We just obviously we couldn't really get any kind of replays or anything for that race to show you guys, but we do have a list, an order. So this is our pecking order for, probably the championship, because it looks to be our two main protagonists once again at the top, with Cameron Sell and Matty Mumu. RWB sneaking up in there to a P3 finish, getting his first podium of the BUSR series, for that matter. Geek as well, a common front runner. Alpha and Joe, AD, Tom Hug and Jariki, all rounding out the top 10. It was quite a interesting race, to be honest. A couple of track limits violations there. Some more deserved than others. Where in turn 5 and 6 in Australia, you can get a couple of track limit penalties just by running off, and the game just thinks you've run off a bit too many times, and you just like, well. So that some of that had to be rescinded in the stewards box. So yeah. Couple of other incidents with Unknown Relic picking up a 10-second time penalty for a collision with Tom Hug down at turn, which dropped him down to P15 from P10, roughly P10 expected. Further up the grid, we have AD coming into contact with Geek and ended up with a 5-second time penalty, which added on to a 3-second time penalty for track limit, going from about a potential P6 to a P7 there, which was aim of the game. Try to keep your head clear. And see what you can work with.
I think Geek had a bit of a rotter in qualifying, if I'm not mistaken there. I think he was towards the back, or at least out of position. So if that is the case, he recovered pretty well to get P4, especially if he was in the wars during the Grand Prix. But moving on to this week, we'll move away from the past and into the present, and indeed the future. Vegas, a controversial addition to the calendar in real life. Everybody thought the race was going to be absolutely dreadful. Turned out to be a little bit of a banger, and the mood of the big giant sphere in the centre of the track certainly summed up a lot of people's feelings after the race, unless you had paid for tickets on Friday, and in which case you didn't get your money back. But glossing over those technicalities, I think it could be a bit of a banger to start us off.
Yeah, it looks be quite interesting. Obviously, you've got the 2 very long straights with which accompany DRS zones, going down into turn 14 with a very heavy braking zone, probably one of the hardest on the calendars apart from Baku, which we will be racing at this year later on. But we do have a 2-kilometer straight down from turn 12 to 14. So you're going to have a lot of people running some very low downforce setups, getting behind them in the slipstream and trying to make a move, maybe a possible dive bomb down into turn 14, which would be quite interesting to see. Maybe a little bit of carnage. We don't know. We don't know. Most likely we'll be seeing some. Turn 3, a lot of drivers reporting some bumps and bottoming out issues with which accompany some locking as well. So we could see some carnage there through in lap 1. So yeah, we're obviously going to see quite a bit of overtakes, some action. So yeah, we've got our work cut out for us today.
I think Carnage is a given. I don't think it's going to be if it happens. I think it's more a case of when it happens, and it will probably happen in qualifying as well. I wouldn't be surprised if any of our 19 drivers, because we do only have one lobby, we have everybody involved. I wonder who is going to be the first to pitch it into the wall, because it's very easy to do. Like you said, the middle sector is so tight and so twisty. It can be very easy just to lock a brake and find yourself face first in a barrier, missing one of your front tyres. Just to go through the rest of the calendar, we have some classics on there. We've got Spa coming up next week. That is a sprint race as well. Then Baku, like you said, China, Singapore, Silverstone, another sprint race. And then we end in Bahrain, where the real Formula One circus will kick off for testing next week. And yes, Cameron Searle getting off to the best possible start, leading the championship by 10 points, courtesy of the win and fastest lap. He's probably going to be the favourite. Missed out on the championship in the Winter Series in the finale to Matty Moon, who has converted to just Matty. A little bit boring, but we've lost the cow section of his name. But yeah, RWB, good performance from him. Geek and Alpha in that top 5. Joe probably a little bit disappointed. I think you said earlier it was a little bit touch and go whether he was going to be jumping into the race as well. But we'll see when we get into the lobby in a couple of moments' time. But yeah, I think this is going to be a very chaotic Grand Prix. Prediction is going to be difficult because this is the kind of track that you can be in the lead by 30 seconds and make a mistake and have your wheels fall off. But who do you think is going to be up there?
Oh, I'd probably have to give it to Matty or Cameron, to be honest. They are the two favourites right now going into this. Obviously, I've got to be rooting for my own Joe in RWB, but I can't be showing too much biases on here right now, can I? So most likely we're going to see Cameron and Matty see some rather sizable gaps in qualifying. I must imagine they probably have a couple of tricks up their sleeves, seeing as they've been practicing for a good few hours in the lobby right now. So yeah.
And as we wait for qualifying to kick off, we'll just go through some of the car selections because obviously we haven't seen it. Geek in the Ferrari, just go through some of the big names. No Desan this season, unfortunately, so the Mercedes driver won't be challenging towards the sharp end. The two Williams boys of Matty and Joe once again will be challenging at the front. Cameron Searle stays in the Alpha Tauri, and we've got Tom Hug and Alpha in the McLarens, usually battling towards the top 5. And who else? We've got some people moving up from the drivers that would be in Lobby 2. We've got Alex Ouch jumping into the Red Bull alongside Aria and GWS in the Aston Martin. RWB need to look out for the driver that finished third last time. Isn't actually racing this evening, which is a disappointment.
Yeah, it looks like Geeks made a switch from Red Bull to Ferrari there. Last season he was in the Red Bull. And we've got a couple of other people who have been fiddling about with their cars for this season. Wilson, also right about the top of the midfield, I'd say. Can put his foot in there sometimes. He's gone to Alpine though from Ferrari, if I remember. So I think he could probably show some bits and try and survive turn 1 of lap 1. That is.
Geek, not the first big name to join Ferrari in the recent weeks.
That was quite a shock, to be honest. I was just sitting around on campus, and one of my mates turned to me and said, "Lewis has gone to Ferrari." I thought he was pulling my leg, but then that was quite a shock when I found that one out.
What a moment! What a day! It was one of those days where it was like, oh, you had to be there. It was one of those classic F1 social media days. A little bit like Oscar Piastri to McLaren in the summer of 2022. That was quite the day on the old socials. But yeah, just waiting for everyone to get into the lobby so we can kick off the season broadcast wise. Of course, we had last week in Australia. I wanna just have a little discussion about the track again, because the real life race, like I said earlier, we all thought was going to be a bit of a bore fest because some sections of this track are absolutely terrible, but it turned out to be pretty exciting, and overtaking was much more of a possibility than we were all expecting. Are you predicting we will see the same levels of action?
I think I am. I think I would say I am, to be honest, because you've got in real life the track temperature was a lot colder, where the Pirellis then could not overheat like they normally do, and we got some very good racing from that, where drivers didn't have to conserve their tyres so much. But here you've just got a lot of long straights and DRS zones, and the slipstream is quite powerful as it is, where they could potentially rocket past each other from turn 12 to 14. behind in a maybe a DRS train starts to form somewhere, and if you get caught out and drop behind that, maybe you're out of contention that way. I could see that happening because it does happen in Austria where the DRS is very powerful. So I'm thinking that most likely we're going to see quite a few overtakes coming through, either from people getting slipstreams or just bolting it down into heavy braking zones. I'm not sure.
And we saw it at the end of last season. I'm not sure if you remember, but we did cover the Austria race, which is, I think, the penultimate round of the season. And ERS management was absolutely key. I think that is going to be one of the main factors that probably decides this race. Because if you've got 50% battery going onto that main straight on the final lap, and the guy in front of you's got 7, 8, 9%, you're going to breeze past. So we could be seeing overtakes right up until the final corner of the final lap, because of course we have that enormous straight down the strip. Then we've got that little chicane of 14, 15 and 16, which is very tight. Expect some contact there in the race. I'm predicting that. And then we've got that other long straight through the kink of the final corner of 17 and across the line, effectively a short run to the line out of the final corner, and a very short main straight as you get straight into the long turn 1 left-hander that is in the real life race was absolutely chaotic on the opening lap. About 5 cars found themselves facing in the wrong direction.
Yeah, that was quite an opening race. But yeah, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it's one of the shortest runs up to turn 1 from pole position on the calendar, apart from Spa, if I remember correctly, where Spa is a couple of meters short in that regard. But yeah, so it's a bit of a interesting place to put the pit straight when you have 3 absolutely massive straights to put it on. But I guess that just adds to the glitz and glamour of running down the Las Vegas Strip.
Well, I believe this is the only track on the calendar, and I could be wrong, where the drivers at the back of the pack actually start round the final corner because of how close it is.
Yeah, on this calendar, if I remember correctly, yeah.
Starting on a bend is not ideal.
Kind of blind. Also coming out of the pits, into which you would come out around about turn 2. It's quite blind there as well, where drivers are making the left-hand turn and trying to clip the apex. All of a sudden, they find the driver coming out of the pits at about 40 miles an hour, just on the inside of their line. So probably not the best place to be if you're coming out of the pits. Could see a couple of collisions there. Not too sure. Maybe people are just going to dive in the pits around about the same time. Not sure what the strategy is going to be. I'm probably going to guess soft and medium running. But
I do just want to jump in there because I don't think strategy is going to be. It's no way is it going to be a one stop. We're going to see about 5 safety cars. Let's be honest. We're going to see people piling into barriers, piling into other cars. This is going to be a test of who can keep the most number of soft tyres for the race, because if we get 3 safety car, every time a safety car comes out, you're going to want to change tyres. That's how this game works. The difference between even tyres that are 0% and 10% is enormous. You can be at least a second a lap faster for a couple of laps. So if you can keep enough soft and medium tyres fresh, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of people starting on the hard tyres just to get those out of the way, and then they can use mediums and softs for the rest of the Grand Prix. So strategy in the sense of making a regulation strategy work of a 1-stop or maybe a 2-stop if you're feeling a bit bold. I just can't see that happening. I think we'll see minimum 3 stops with the VSCs and actual real life safety cars that I'm expecting.
Yeah, no, it's going to be quite an interesting fiasco that comes out of the strategy bin. I think it's just going to be a case of people probably somebody tries to go quite long on a set of hard tyres at the start. I could probably see that working for the likes of Cameron or Matty, where they've got quite good tyre management overall, where they could probably try hang out for a late safety car and then pit for a fresh set of softs and just absolutely bolt it down to the finish line.
Well, let's talk about that title battle in the sort of 30 seconds we've got before we go racing. Obviously, it was Matty that came out on top last season. Cameron sort of came out of nowhere, pushed Matty really hard, had a run of races early on where I think he won 3 on the spin, if I remember correctly, starting from Mexico, I think it might have been. And, put his foot down, but then made a mistake. I think he retired in Spain, and that was, kind of it, because Matty did score points in every single race, despite having some connection issues that plagued him throughout the season. So that dynamic is sort of an emerging rivalry that's going on, these two. They've just sort of started locking heads, and I assume that is going to continue throughout the season. If Geek can get back up to the levels that we know he's capable of, same with Joe, who was a little bit too inconsistent last season to really challenge, making one too many mistakes across the course of the championship. We could have a 4-way scrap, and we had a kind of a 5-way scrap last season with Dazan in there as well, but Dazan, Geek and Joe were always a little bit detached from those top two. If they can get their consistency up and really consistently challenge for podiums, 4-way title scrap, I mean, I am very much up for that.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility with the with how the point scoring system works, and secondly, just how tight everyone's racing right now. I mean, Cameron, Matty, Geek and Joe can all be within about, less than a tenth of each other on a good on a good weekend, where they could consistently be behind each other. It's just about who's just that little bit more consistent, and Matty and Cameron were just in a league of their own in that sense. Oh, and it looks like we
are
have,
in
our lobby in. Lovely.
Finally, we are go. No Joe in the session.
No,
that rhymed. That wasn't intentional.
I heard a couple of whispers about Matty probably almost not making it. It looked like Ed was very much willing to go without him, so it looks like he made it in time.
Alpine first out on the circuit, though. I think it was, we've got two Alpines. Is it going to be Wilson or Unknown Relic? It is Wilson leading SJ out of the pits, and qualifying commences. 17 minutes left on the clock, and it is going to be Wilson that will be the first to set a flying lap. Once this outlap is completed, it's going to be critical to get those tyres up to temperature and get prepared for your lap. I'd be interested to see if people go for double push laps, or a push lap and a cool lap and then a push lap again, just to try and get into the rhythm, because this track is so uncompromising and so different to everything else. It's not like a normal street track. You've got massive long straights and then just corner after corner there's just horrible 90-degree minimal traction corner. I think getting into a rhythm and getting yourself wound up nice is going to be key for a lot of our drivers this evening.
Yeah, given how the track lends itself with just how tight and blind the corners are, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the...
Wilson.
Oh, Wilson is just... getting a little bit topsy-turvy there. I think he's all right, though. But yeah, so given how the season lends itself, this track lends itself, it could be the case that everyone's going for at least two push laps here, where if somebody finds themselves on the wall, but you're halfway through a push lap, you've still got enough fuel and tire temperature to go for a second push lap once they've been cleared out. It's just really a matter of getting that ERS up, because as you said, it's going to be really powerful around here. But yeah, that's probably going to be the difference between...
I think he's been in the wall again, so Wilson's struggling and does return to the pits. So we thought he went in the wall earlier in the lap, and second time was not a charm, because he's broken that front wing and comes in straight away. So it's going to be 80 that will take us around the first flying lap. Is it? No, it's his teammate in the Alfa Romeo SJ. And we are going to go for a lap around the Las Vegas circuit, swinging it round turn 1 and up towards turn 2. This first sector is a little bit slippery, and you've got to get the line perfectly. Taps the wall on the inside. That's going to put him offline, going round turn 3 and up towards turn 4 and 5. This long straight, hopefully he didn't pick up any damage, but this is where we're going to see the setup differences between the drivers. These long straights, who's got low wings, who's got high wings to maximise the performance in the middle sector. Quick 90-degree right-hander of turn number 5, and then into this blind 6, 7, 8 and 9 complex. Horrible, these curbs stick out. You get no grip on them whatsoever, and the track doesn't exactly have a lot to offer either. It's been a pretty neat and tidy first sector, bar that little brush of the wall going through turn number 3, and we'll see what SJ does as we come round these kinks of turns 10, 11 and 12. Purple, of course, the first driver to start a flying lap, and now turn 12, this is very difficult. Blind, this is where we saw Max Verstappen and George Russell make contact in the race. Goes very deep, try and keep it out of the wall, but he just about goes over the curb. Surprised it hasn't been invalidated, but obviously took off enough speed, and now we're on to this straight that we were talking about. It is absolutely mahoosive. DRS open halfway down. It has already drained almost all of his battery down to 33%. It's going to be a lot lower as we come down into the final 3 sets of real corners, because turn 17 doesn't really count. Purple again, obviously, first driver out on track. Brake hard, you've got to make sure you get this corner nice and tight on the inside, clatters the curb, and then keep it out of the walls. They come at you very fast if you go through 16 and up towards turn 17 to complete the first flying lap that we have seen, at least, of the season from SJ in the Alfa Romeo. What is it going to be? Round turn 17. The line comes at you very quickly. All the ERS deployed is a 133.9. That is the benchmark, and I expect that to be beaten straight away by Dylan Fernando, 0.6 of a second for the Haas driver.
Yeah, it looked like Dylan got quite a nice slipstream there from SJ right out the gate there. It was just in the line where he just didn't get enough of that dirty air through the corners, but he got enough of a toe where he was able to put a little bit better together down the straights. Obviously, SJ having that going quite deep there into turn 12. Just compromising how much power he was able to put down. As now we see AD go up to the top with a 32.2. ZZ as well with 32.3. Going to see quite a few people breaking into the 32s. Maybe we're definitely going to be breaking into the 31s very soon. And Cameron Selge just does exactly that, right on cue. Thank you very much, good sir.
6/10 of a second though ahead of Geek. That's a big margin early on.
Right ahead of Geek as well. Like, you wouldn't be. He's probably practices many times already, as all of these drivers should be as well. He's probably just found how to heat these tires up just a little bit more right out of the gate. Matty Mumu just 4 tenths behind Cameron Sell and just the 2 tenths in front of Geek, so he's just right there. Probably also one of the favourites for pole. There's that bit of a lock up there as well from the driver in front of Willie. I'm not sure who that was. Was that an Alpine? And we've got now sector 1 and 3, all sectors green flags now. Just people trying to get out of the way in this very tight circuit. You're gonna have to go quite slow around here to try to let people through. Very keen eye on your track map to make sure nobody's really in your way. SJ still in the pits, by the way. Just waiting to see what you can do there. Now we have, and our top 5 are pretty much the exact same. No one's trying to come up there and pit the others out from anywhere. Tomahawk with 32.5, also trying to see what you can do in that McLaren of his as well. And now we've got more yellow flags around.
Yeah, just people getting out of the way. You can see the 2 Alpines swapping track places there. Wilson purple in the middle sector, although we do know that the game does like to say that everybody goes fastest through the middle sector. Obviously, broke his front wing on his first flight. Well, it wasn't even his first flying lap. It was an out lap that Wilson made the blunder on. Gets very close to the wall again on the exit of 16. Brushing it, you would think. Where is this going to be? His teammate is currently in 12th. Unknown Relic on a 33.1. And Wilson can't... he does beat it by 7/10 of a second, in fact. 32.4. Splits the 2 McLaren cars, is actually perfectly in between the Papaya outfits. But as you said earlier, Cameron Sell comfortably out in front, nearly 4/10 of a second ahead of his championship rival Geek. Pretty close together, the 2 Ferraris of Geek and Willie Blobs, just over a 1/10 of a second, and then 80 a further 300ths back. And this it's very close actually. If you go from Geek down to Wahali Warrior in 10th, that is only half a second.
Yeah, we've got quite a small gap between everyone right now, but what I'm interested in is how everyone's attacking that turn 16 curb right now, because you saw who was it, Wilson, really mount over that curb. So are we seeing people finding more time going over it, or are we seeing people that are finding a bit more time going around it and using the grip around there instead of trying to straighten out that line as much as possible, because it is quite a finicky corner, although it doesn't really look that way in the track map. You can really see how that curb can really affect you when you're trying to get the power down to that final straight there. Everyone's now clambering into the pits though, as we see Cameron Sell looking on to be going on the second push lap. I didn't see his sector 1 and 2 times there, but
he's a 10th and a half up.
But he's looking quite good, yeah.
16, yeah. So
he's already
this could be lowering the
a lot.
benchmark again.
Possibly breaking into the 130s at some point soon, and he's going to be breaking into the 130s probably in his next outlap as he goes almost 3 tenths quicker there. That is a massive margin for the rest of them to start making up now.
Absolutely. He is on the money straight away and putting out quite the statement to his rivals, because that was on an older set of tyres. Remember, he'd already done a flying lap and he's able to do a 31.1. Matty on fresh tyres, 31.8. So 7/10 of a second, the margin between the championship protagonists and the Williams driver is going to be scratching his head at that deficit to the AlphaTauri. It's very important to come out of the blocks flying, and Cameron Searle, going through all the different names of drivers there, and even the darts player Ryan Searle. Cameron Searle has managed to do that. SJ's retired in turns 14, 15 and 16, clatters the wall you can see on the mini-map there in the bottom right, and that is going to be 16th at best. You'd imagine that GWS and Bluefire are going to go ahead. That is not ideal for the Alfa Romeo. First driver to set a flying lap, and will not get another chance to improve. Cameron Searle bails out of this one, gets out of the way. We've got a Red Bull coming through on an outlap, you would imagine. I believe that's Alex Louch. Yes, it is, down in 15th. Is just over 1.2 seconds behind his teammate. So the person you need to measure yourself against is always your teammate, and we've got a few teammates that are very close together. McLaren and Mercedes in particular, separated by a tenth and a half and then just 0.07 of a second respectively. And the two Ferraris as well, pretty close together.
Yeah, you can't rule out the Ferraris right now. They're looking quite good. I mean, I haven't seen much from Willie Blobbs recently, but Geek has been putting on has always been putting on quite a bit of a show. So as Willie Blobbs has already put himself up into P4, just the 10th behind Geek, you can really see that he's got quite a bit of potential, and everyone's going to be improving here. As now we're seeing Alex Louch, only 15th there, as he's now starting his flying lap. Coming now down through into turn 4. I couldn't really see that. I'm not too sure on my end, but he's looking all right. Let's see what his sector 1 time is here. This very long DRS straight here, rearing wide open as much as possible, and quite a heavy braking zone there is turn 5. It's quite wide, but you're still without much grip around there.
It's been a little bit of a messy first sector though from Alex, has to be said. Gets out of shape again going through the 7 and 8 complex and up towards turn 9. What is the first sector split time going to be? I'd imagine he's not going to be improving by a lot, although he's only 15th, so maybe, 0.6 of a second down. He's backed out of that one. And I thought he clouted the barrier going through turn 3, and obviously he did and decided that he is not going to improve. So not an ideal start for Alex. 7 minutes to go, got to get back into the pits. Potentially change a wing, although there's no cosmetic damage there. There could just be a little bit of minor front wing damage.
Yeah, I saw that he got a bit out of shape there into the exit from the exit of turn 8. His rear end just stepped out on him, so he probably just backed off because of that, and he just thought, well, there's not really much point in trying to save this lap when he's already 6/10 down. Probably see that from his MFD there. Now we've got Matty Mumu, one of our pole contenders, coming through. What was that? Turn 6, 7, and 8 now. Through that sphere sector, very nice sector. If you're there as a spectator, not so much if you're a driver, because it is almost got no grip really. Let's be honest. Now coming through and sector 1. Oh, and he is is almost 0.3 up on his best lap there. Now coming through to the Las Vegas Strip. This very long straight. Nobody in front of him to try to give him a tow out of turn 12. But he will be relying on the sheer power of his ERS and DRS systems to be keeping himself afloat there.
Lost time though. He's lost 1/10 of a second, and Matty Muri, he needed to pull something out of the bag. He found nearly 0.3 of a second in the first sector, lost half of that delta again. As you can see, SJ's tyre just embedded into the barrier at the exit of turn 14 there, interestingly enough. As we come around the final corner though, I don't think this is going to take a large chunk of the delta between himself and Cameron Searle, and it is still 0.4 of a second. So some head scratching needed to be done for the reigning champion, because Cameron Searle is a long way clear.
Yeah, he's got some work to do, and everyone's got their work cut out for themselves. To be honest, as Alpha now splits the Ferrari boys there, going in with a 132.1, just 2/1000ths of a second behind Geek there actually, and as he's still in the pits, probably wondering maybe he should go out in a couple of minutes and try another lap, as everyone should be out soon, as we've now got only 4 minutes and 45 seconds left of this session. We should start seeing everyone go out on a out lap here. I've got Wilson coming through, just trying to see if he can try and make the most of what he's got so far. As he's probably wondering, maybe you see somebody just probably. Oh, and he has just gone straight off through into turn 8 there. Probably just ruined his lap there. Probably a good idea that he's gone out there again, to be honest. So he can go out without having to run into the pits, as long as he's got enough fuel for another session, for another run. Now we should start seeing everyone start to crawl out of the pits any minutes now. And now here we've got, who was that? Wilson again, just trying to warm up his tyres a little bit. Nobody seems to be immediately preparing to leave the pits. Oh, is that Cameron Soul preparing to leave out?
Preparing to bring in Cameron Soul.
They're coming into. He's just coming into the pits now. Just going to be waiting for a little bit longer. Just try preserve any soft tyres, because I've got a feeling they're going to be quite the luxury to have during the race.
Definitely. And we've got to the business end of the session. We see Matty return to the pits. He has got a lot of time to find. 4/10 the difference between first and second. And then a further 4/10 back to Geek in third, who's only been out on the track once. His teammate Willie Blobs currently is fifth and will be the first driver to cross the line to complete qualifying. Only Willie Blobs, Dylan Fernando, and I believe, is that an Aston Martin? I think it's an Aston Martin. Yes, GWS, who I think is actually on a flying lap if we want to jump over to the driver in 15th place. At least it doesn't say that the Aston Martin's on an out lap. Oh, it's invalidated. Perfect. That is not ideal, and will stay 15th for the time being. People that need to get a move on late on, GMT UFC probably would be expecting to be a little bit higher than 11th. Unknown Relic as well, up from 14th. GWS has actually shown some decent pace in previous outings, so 15th will be disappointing for the driver in the British Racing Green. And then obviously Alex Louch and Bluefire will want to improve from 16th and 17th. SJ can't do anything about that, with the other Alfa Romeo sat comfortably, it has to be said, in 6th place, as that is a big slide from Willie Blobs, and just getting ready to start his final flying lap of the session.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a scramble to the finish line here. We've got two minutes left. Nobody's left the pit so far, and now we've got Willie Blobs on a flying lap here. Nobody else really around him to be setting any kind of current sector times. I think his teammate in front of him, though, Geek, is just preparing, so it'll be hopeful that he gets out of the way. There we go. Just runs straight past of him, and now
doesn't give him a toe. Doesn't give him a toe. Interestingly enough, so no teamwork involved there.
Probably no communications between the two. Just trying to get on with it. Get your head down. Just in that regard. Probably not really thinking about it too much. Now we're seeing that he's getting a little bit skirmish there through the entry of turn 9, but looking good so far. Let's see what his sector time comes out to. It's going to be a 43.8. That's quite a good time for him. 2/10 up. He's looking at the P3, P2 maybe. Cameron Selson in the pits. Matty Geek also out. Matty Geek and Alpha are all out of the pits right now on a preparing for their flying lap. It is just Willie Blobs right now, just barreling it down through the Las Vegas Strip once again, trying to see what he can do in this in this Ferrari. 31% of his ERS deployments. He's looking quite green on that so far. Everyone else is probably conserving that as much as possible. Absolutely mounting that turn 16 curb once again. Just trying to get as much.
Invalidated the lap.
He just absolutely invalidated it. Yeah. Oh dear. Well, that's going to be putting quite a thorn in his boot there, as he could have been setting on for quite a fast lap there, but now it's probably going to be pushed down quite a bit, as he's got enough fuel to get him through another lap. We're not sure yet. Now we've got Dylan here. Dylan, haven't seen much from before. And he's been blocked there. Matty's just not giving him any space at all.
Slam dunk penalty. Dunk penalty. The Williams was on the racing line, didn't get out of the way, completely compromising Dylan Fernando, who, well, if the Haas improves, that'll be quite the achievement. Over the line we go. Finds half a second, so that just shows how quick he was initially. Only 9th place though. Will he return the favour and get in Matty's way? I don't think so. So revenge not on the menu today. But yeah, just going back to Willie Blobs, was 2/10 up in the first sector, didn't find any more in the middle sector, but would have jumped up into 3rd place just with matching his final sector time. So huge disappointment. Doesn't have the battery to go again. That should be the end of that Ferrari driver session. As the checkered flag is out, Cameron Sell decides to park it, stays in the pits. It's now all up to Matty Mumu, as he was formerly known, now just Matty. Is 80 up into 3rd, 32.0, gets ahead of Geek.
Well, yeah, that's quite an improvement from 80 as well. Cameron Sell trying to pull off a bit of a Sebastian Vettel here and just stay in the pits and try to win pole position from the pit lane. Matty Mumu trying to go on an absolute flyer here, but I don't think he's going to be keeping pole position if he does gain it from that little collision there with.
Did you see the toe there though? Did you see the toe that Guy got down the strip? He didn't give the toe to his teammate on the previous lap, but he was purple in the middle sector, 4.5 tenths up. Geek should jump at least up into second place here as he comes around the final corner. Matty's going to be quaking in his boots as round the Ferrari goes up into third, only loses time, messes it up. Only a 31.7. Geek will be disappointed. 6 tenths per second behind Cameron Searle, who didn't even use a fresh set of tyres to set that flying lap. What can Matty do? He's down in the middle sector, and that must be pole position, if it wasn't confirmed already, for the championship leader as he clouts the barrier as well, just to add to the woes of Matty. It's going to be 4 tenths per second down, returns to the pits with a broken front wing.
Yeah, that's about as much as Matty can do, really. His qualifying session was ruined at that instance there. As now we've got Alpha coming up to the line. Let's see where he can go. I couldn't really see his sector times, but he's looking good, and he improves to 4th position. Now, a very good qualifying run from him. Couldn't really see his sector times, but we've now got people coming through. Tom Hug in P11, GMT UFC in P14, and we've got Wilson as well returning into the pits, and that's his qualifying done as well. Not where they're expected themselves to be, probably. Tom Hogg as well, P11. He's usually around the top of the midfield, so it's a bit of a disappointment to see him down there. Now we've got more people returning to the pits, and that seems to be our provisional starting grid for the upcoming race in a couple of minutes.
Dominance is the only word that we can use. Cameron Searle only was out on the track on 1 set of tyres. Set a banker lap, which I can't remember quite what it was, but that would probably have been good enough for second at worst. Then went out, or stayed out, on those used tyres. Went even faster, and well, Matty couldn't get within 4 tenths per second on brand new tyres. He was compromised to his own making, it has to be said, but will line up 4 tenths per second back in second. Geek in third ahead of Alpha and AD, making it 5 different teams in the top 5. That is 6 if you go behind them with Wahali Warrior for Red Bull, but it was his teammate Alex that actually picked up the wooden spoon at the end after SJ pitched it in the barriers through turn 14. That was an interesting qualifying session. Probably wasn't as close as we were imagining it to be. Cameron Searle was in a league of his own, and that probably doesn't bode well for his competitors going into the race.
Yeah, it seems to be quite a show of dominance there from Cameron Searle, just sitting in the pit lane waiting for himself to grab pole position. Not really much other people could do. And I think, actually, for that matter, Cameron would have got pole on his first push lap because he got a 31.4 there. So it looks like he would have been fine just on that first set, on just that first run. So that's quite a show of pace there from Cameron. So probably looks like he's going to be disappearing off into the distance in front of everyone come the race. But we will see. Maybe he doesn't survive turn 1 and somebody comes through the inside of him when he's least expecting it. We do not know.
It'll be interesting to see. I think he might just do a Max Verstappen and drive off into the sunset or the dusk if we use the current timing conditions. But while we have a little intermission, we are going to look at what Special Effect does to help people in the gaming community.
That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalised, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
Fantastic cause, I'm sure you will agree. And here at the BUSR, very proud to be partnered and supporting Special Effect. Returning, though, to the main action around Las Vegas in the night of Nevada. And I am very excited to see what could be in the offing. Cameron Searle is probably going to drive off into the distance, but with the safety cars, we are expecting that lead should be pegged back every single time somebody crashes, which I think is going to be probably 50% of our drivers, let's be honest. I think we're going to see a lot of front wing changes. It's going to be an expensive night for the teams with a lot of carbon fibre wasted around the Vegas track. But if we ignore Cameron, let's talk about who's going to be second place. It's like real life F1. Ignore Verstappen, who's going to win by miles. Who's going to be best of the rest?
Both Red Bull-esque drivers. So I think, we've got Matty up there. Not sure if he's been dished out a penalty yet. I'll keep you guys updated on that.
I doubt it. I think it'll probably be something that comes for the next race, I would imagine, because it's a qualifying infringement. He ruined the lap of Dylan Fernando. So for me, at least, that is a slam dunk penalty. I don't know how they will apply that, but not ideal.
Well, apparently from what I'm hearing here is that Dylan wasn't too much impeded from Matty there, but it looks to be all right. Okay, now we are starting here.
Hybrid lights ahead of the drivers for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It is lights out and away we go. Massive jump start. It looked like further back from said Dylan Fernando in the Haas, but no penalty applied. Run down to turn one. Is Matty going to send it up the inside? No, he doesn't. Cameron Sell manages to hold on. It's actually Geek who is on the offensive, taking the wide line to try and swing through, but it is Cameron Sell who keeps the lead ahead of Matty Mumu. And then Geek under pressure into the wall. Cameron Sell straight away. What a start. We jinxed him, surely. He's clattered into the barrier at the exit of turn 2, and after a mere 30 seconds of his Vegas Grand Prix, he is out, and that is the favourite gone within 3 corners.
Was that from contact? I couldn't see that Matty. I don't think Matty Moon was that close. I think that was just pure nerves and a lack of grip there from Cameron Sell, who just absolutely cast it into the wall. But now it looks like we're probably going to have a safety car here to neutralise everyone and get them all down to a very slow crawling pace down through this first lap. But yeah, it looked like, you know, you get some winners here. AD jumping Alpha, GMT UFC jumping quite a few people there as well. Wilson dropping straight down into P14 all the way from P8. So yeah, and everyone has improved there from Cameron
Another car off. It's a Red Bull of Wahali Warrior on the restart that went deep into turn number 12 and is going to lose a whole heap of places. You would imagine Matty and Geek, their eyes must have lit up like dinner plates when they saw the AlphaTauri pitch into the wall. I think Geek's going to try and take the lead of the Grand Prix though, down the strip straight. Yes, he is up into the lead of the Grand Prix. It's almost 3 wide with 80 trying to get involved in the Alfa Romeo. We are 3 wide as we go up towards turn 14. This can't end very nicely at all. Geek goes deep on the brakes, but he manages to keep it out of the barriers. Matty falls down into 3rd place behind the Alfa Romeo and gets a little bit squirmy for his troubles as well in the exit of 16, and that's going to open him up to a McLaren that comes through. Another car in the wall. I think that's Tom Hug, who's got caught up in the 14, 15 and 16 complex, dropping to the back of the pack. We've got a second virtual safety car on the opening lap. Oh, we've got an Alpine in the wall as well. Wilson's lost his front wing. This is carnage. We thought it was going to be. I mean, we need a full course safety car just so we can recover from the shock of turn 3.
Yeah, I think everyone's got to be kind of calming down a little bit here. Blue Fire, I don't think he was. I think he tried to overtake under the yellow flag there, and then tried to return because he was fighting GWS, but then he returned the position to GWS, but he overtook just as the yellow flag came out, so it's like quite unfortunate timing there. So I think that'll be going straight to the stewards board to see if that was a worthwhile penalty or not. But yeah, so it looks like Alpha getting a massively great. It was a great launch out of turn 16. Couldn't have asked for anything better there from that little scrap up ahead with Geek and AD there as well. Matty just dropping all the way back down from P4 after running in P1 for just a little bit of time. Now we're back under racing again with Geek and AD getting quite a good launch there, as Alpha just sniffing up the gearbox of AD, and Matty just trying to hold on to any kind of slipstream he can. And is that a Aston Martin in the wall from ZZ there?
Absolutely. Zizi was in the barriers, doesn't have any damage by the looks of things, so can continue, albeit a couple of places worse off. Geek, who didn't win a race last season, currently leads the Grand Prix, although I think that's going to be short-lived, as AD, who's come out of nowhere in this race, didn't have a particularly special opening round, now leads the Las Vegas Grand Prix. You can see the top 6 all tucked up underneath the rear wing of the leader. It's going to be the Alfa Romeo that leads us for the time being, because Geek and Alpha, and potentially Matty, will fancy their chances coming through 17 and on to the start of lap number 3. Almost contact as they go over the line. Alpha searching for a gap to try and get past one of these drivers. Geek on the inside, no contact thankfully enough, but the McLaren's going to try and send it around the outside as he knows. Geek up into the lead of the Grand Prix. The camera was not very conducive to see what was going on, but he used the inside to his advantage. Geek up into the lead. Alpha, is he going to try and take second place now from 80 with the help of DRS? This is crazy stuff. It's actually Matty that looks a little bit racy to try and get past the Papaya McLaren for 3rd and 4th. Geek back up into the lead, briefly lost it to the Alfa Romeo, gets it back in sterling fashion.
He's probably punching himself right now, probably thinking that he's trying to make a move somewhere. He just can't seem to find anywhere.
Mistake from 80 off the road. It's all action stuff. We haven't got a break. I think it just went a little bit too deep. Maybe tapped the barrier on the exit of turn number 7, and that's going to leave him vulnerable. Here comes Matty and Alpha also pitched in battle, going into combat for 3rd and 4th place. The Williams gets past the McLaren and now sets about his sights trying to get past that Alfa Romeo, who also has a 3-second penalty into the back of him. Matty's lost his wing. Alfa pitches the Williams into the wall, caught out by the Williams braking earlier. Matty is the 2nd championship contender to find himself facing in the wrong direction. This time he stays in the Grand Prix, but minus his front wing. We'll have to return to the pits, and in 3 laps, or 2.5 laps, we've got 3 virtual safety cars. We're going to run out by the time we get to lap 5. This is crazy stuff. Geek is... well, all of his Christmases have come at once in the middle of February because he's leading this race, and both of his main championship contenders are either out or with significant damage. And no, there's another car off. Is that Matty again? I think he's made contact with somebody. No, it must have been the Mercedes of GMT UFC weaving about. He's in the wall and has got no front wing as well. These guys just can't keep it on the straight and narrow at the moment. This is absolutely crazy. More contact. What are we doing?
That's in the retirement
two Mercedes have come together. It's silver civil war for the black painted Mercs. And it's GMT UFC that's now out of the race. And I think it was his teammate that he made contact with. Tom Hugg's got a drive-through for an infringement under the previous virtual safety car. This is unbelievable. 80's in the pits now, probably to change onto the hard compound of tyres. Yes, and a front wing change for his troubles as well. Geeking everybody into the pits because we have finally, this will allow me to breathe, we have got a safety car. Blue Fire is the only driver that has stayed out in the AlphaTauri, the one remaining AlphaTauri, because his teammate was in the wall. Tom Hugg has stayed out as well, actually. You can see the McLaren just whizzing past them, and Dylan Fernando potentially as well. Let's all just breathe for a moment. It was very difficult. Let's go back to the very start. Cameron Searle, what a blunder.
That was quite something there. I wasn't really expecting Cameron to just lose it like that. He looked to be rather in control of that AlphaTauri, and then I think either Matty just spooked him a little bit, or he just lost it himself there. Maybe just the adrenaline just got to him, and he just couldn't really keep it anyway. GWS as well, right at the back. But yeah, Blue Fire staying out. Quite interesting. They're saying with Tom Hugg as well, both on medium and hard tyres respectively. They're going to be seeing some drivers just behind them trying to look for moves through the inside with just slightly fresher tyres there. As Geek just probably counting his lucky stars right now, thinking, well, he's got quite a sizable gap between himself and AD, who seems to be quite racy right now. Got quite a bit of pace behind them, and could easily challenge Geek for a P1 finish here.
So let's assess the next incident, which is very contentious. Matty's been saved by the safety car because the two Mercedes decided they were just going to clatter into each other, one of them losing the wheel and then the other managing to survive. But that looked very strange. Geek had obviously just got through, and then SJ made that mistake going into turn 7 and 8. Ran wide, picked up a 3-second penalty. At the same time, Matty got past Alpha, and they were racing up towards turns 10 and 11. And then I don't really know what happened. It looked like the Alfa Romeo just braked. Matty got caught out by it, braked even harder, and then Alpha couldn't stop in time, went straight into the back of him, pushed the Williams round into the wall, as I think Willie Blobbs might be in the pits as well. Got some racing further back under the safety car. Not quite sure what's going on there, but yeah, Matty, and it's actually SJ that's into the box. Crazy stuff. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear so many drivers' points of views. I want to interview Cameron Searle after this race. I want to interview Matty and Geek and AD and Alpha. We've only had 5 laps, most of which have been under yellow flags. So if we can interview everybody, that would be ideal. I don't think that's going to be timed for YouTube, but I am so excited to see how the rest of this goes. I think we're going to run out of safety cars pretty quickly. We've already had 3 virtuals and 1 real safety car. So I think there's a maximum of 6. So only 2 remaining, which people have got to bear in mind with their strategies. But unbelievable. I still can't get over Cameron Searle. That would be like Verstappen in the first race at Bahrain doing a Mazepin and just flying off into the barriers at turn 3. I can't believe that's happened. I feel sorry for him because he was so dominant, and if he'd have got through that corner, I think he would have just driven off into the sunset. But that is what happens sometimes. Sometimes you get the rub of the green, sometimes you don't. And he'll have to wait until next week to go again, trying to get that championship lead back.
Yeah, that's just part of racing, though. Really, he had definitely shown some great potential there, but he just couldn't really find much of it there through that corner. Yeah, it looks like hopefully people are going to calm down a little bit and try to be a little bit more sensible through this safety car restart. We'll see. Hopefully, anyway. But yeah, we'll be under racing very soon. I just want to point out, Harley Warrior, he had quite a severe off-track incident there at turn 12 at the opening lap, and he's already made himself up into P7, pretty much recovered where he started from. Considering the fact that everyone else him and everyone else had pitted, he made his way up, probably just due to the absolute carnage that was going on ahead. He just found some places I couldn't really see what was going on with him, to be honest, because we were just so hyper focused on everything else.
Absolutely, but we've got to get going again. I've only just managed to get enough oxygen in my lungs again to get this restart going, but it is going to be Blue Fire, who started 16th, made up 15 places, does have a penalty looming over their head as well, but they are going to do the restart. Geek, I think, is going to be eager to get past that AlphaTauri very quickly. It might be deja vu if Blue Fire pitches it into the wall going through turn 3, but we are underway on lap number 6 with Blue Fire leading Geek ahead of Tom Hug and Dylan Fernando. Tom Hug's actually on the assault trying to get past Geek, and there's more contact. The McLaren's facing the wrong way. Spins at turn 1. We've got 4 cars pitching into each other as well as they try to go 4 wide through a corner that is not made for that number of Formula 1 cars. Through turn 4 we go through without instant, and Geek's on the offensive trying to get this lead from Blue Fire. This will be crucial to his Grand Prix because it has pretty much fallen into place for him at the moment. The AlphaTauri fights it around the outside. Geek thinks better of it, decides I don't want to break my front wing unlike the other 15 drivers in this Grand Prix. I can just sit behind for the time being. Still a yellow flag. I think it's GWS that is stopped going through turns 2 and 3. Carnage behind. We've got Dylan Fernando and Harley Warrior getting stuck in the battle for 4th and 5th. Then it's Relic ahead of Zizi, and we've got another safety car. And I feel like that's been caused by the Aston Martin. I must admit. Got
to be caused. Yeah, it's got to be that front wing damage. I'm not seeing a front wing on the Aston from this angle. So possibly just some carbon in the roads, which surprisingly enough that would cause a safety car. I don't want to be cynical here. It doesn't seem to have any front end grip. So yeah.
It looked like GWS stopped for a long period of time, which makes me think, and I don't want to start conspiracy theorying for people. As Dylan Fernando's retired somewhere under the safety car. People can't keep it out of the wall. Trying to look to see where the Haas is stopped. I think it's in the wall on the left-hand side. You just see the car ghosted. Matty's had some trials and tribulations as well under the safety car. Lost a load of places. Now only 13th. But as GWS has gone off the road, I don't want to be going back to my point. I don't want to be cynical, but it looked like he was stopped for a long time. And
I'm not sure what happened there.
If you stop on track for a prolonged period of time, you do bring out a safety car. I think Blue Fire's into the pits for the AlphaTauri, yes. 10-second penalty, though, must have sped into the pits. We're not getting the notifications coming up at the top of the screen for some reason, so we're going to have to try and point them out ourselves. But I really hope that wasn't an intentional stop, get a safety car, reset the race. But
no.
Yeah, I do fear. Dylan Fernando has just rejoined, so maybe it was the disconnect and you retire glitch, which is a huge shame because the Haas drive was looking pretty quick throughout the entire race this evening. Alpha and Matty into the pits for a second time as well. But yeah, Geek now assumes the lead ahead of AD. Everybody's made at least one stop. A couple have made 2 and 3. But I don't know where to start.
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing as well. Tom Hug disqualified.
I didn't even see him. Just after Dylan disconnected, Tom Hug just on the outside, just on the exit of turn 4, he just got disqualified for whatever reason it was. I couldn't exactly see what it was. As am I, to be honest. He got 3 drive-throughs apparently. Yeah. I think it was just. There must have been overtaking then.
I've also been pinged saying that there's some Delta issues as well. Yeah. So it looks like people. It seems that what's happening here is that because people are causing so many safety cars, everyone's getting penalties. Well, what happened to Tom was probably that he got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car because there was a Delta glitch, and then that just spiraled where he picked up 3 drive-through penalties, which is then a disqualification, it seems, in this.
I don't know whether it's self-inflicted though, because people keep on driving into each other under safety car. Be that them weaving and then just clattering into someone that's trying to come past them, or they just lose it on their own accord. If it is a problem with the game, that's unfortunate for those guys, but they certainly haven't helped each other by driving into each other. I mean, the main example is the two Mercedes drivers. If it was how it looked to us, that was just a little bit careless from both of them.
Yeah, I couldn't really see what was going on there, but it looks like it really just looked like the case of a little bit of internal struggles between the two Mercedes drivers, where they just couldn't really figure out what they were both doing, and just went into the back of each other. So yeah, we've still got a safety car out, been out for quite a while now. Probably, I'm not sure if this is something that's just led on from Dylan Fernando retiring as well, which also has caused a safety car, because obviously I think what happened was that GWS caused that safety car, and then maybe Dylan caused another one, which is extended one. It's been going on for quite some time now.
I believe you're correct. I think the problem is the guys aren't really catching up. GWS has only just caught the back of the snake, and Willie Block has actually come into the pits again. So hopefully the safety car does come in this lap, because the Ferrari is going to be 21 seconds back if you look at the delta. This is probably, we've only had 8 laps, and I know the drivers probably aren't enjoying this because they're not getting a lot of action. And when they are under green flags, they seem to be driving into each other quite a bit. But this has been one of the most chaotic BUSR races I have ever seen. If we just give a quick rundown on the position changes as well, because I believe the safety car probably is going to come in at the end of this lap. Dylan Fernando leaves the session, but it is Geek who leads. Started from P3 on the grid, has moved up into the lead. AD as well has moved up 3 places, along with Wahali Warrior. They've both been in the walls. AD's got a very good pace though, but bear in mind on the hard tyres compared to Geek's mediums. The Alfa Romeo can go to the end though, so just bear that in mind. Unknown Relic has picked up 8 positions in the Alpine. His teammate Wilson picked up 3. Wilson at the end of the first lap had no front wing. He's now running in P5 ahead of ZZ. Alex Lauch started 17th, now up into 7th. SJ started 18th, up into 8th. Blue Fire, despite pitting when the safety car came out, is still running 9th. And Alpha, who has very much been in the wars, down in 10th place. Lost 6 places.
It seems like Wahali Warrior's gone straight up to P3 quite magically from a couple of retirements and people pitting. Yep, and safety car will be in this lap, and we will be racing again once Eek decides when it is time to go. Everyone's got to be trying to get on that as quickly as possible and try and make the most of this getaway here, trying to keep the revs as high as possible for the best launch out of it. And it looks like we are go. Geek, AD, and Harley Warrior all leading out the top 3, as Unknown Relic seems to be getting quite racy there with the Red Bull. And he is just going side by side there, through into turn 3 and 4. Almost made contact there. It's coming out quite side by side again. Now they're both looking towards that Alfa Romeo and thinking possibly they can try and make a move there, as Unknown Relic has now gotten quite easily past the Red Bull there.
Yeah, swings it around the outside. Brilliant stuff from the Alpine. Now sets his sights on the ailing Alfa Romeo in front, because 80's hard tyres very much not up to temperature yet. A little bit of a cluster going on in the midfield. Alpha gets past Blue Fire, as does Matty, as the AlphaTauri runs wide going into turn 7. But Geek steaming away out in front, 1.6 seconds. Those hard tyres not working off the restart for 80, under pressure from the group of cars behind. ZZ all over the back of Wilson. They did swap places briefly going into turn 1, must have been side by side. The Aston Martin wasn't able to get through, looked a little bit deep there for Unknown Relic, but I think he's going to use a little bit of battery and slipstream to take second place. The other Alpine moving backwards though, as Wilson runs a little bit deep and the Aston Martin gets through. Next up on the list is the Alfa Romeo of SJ. He's going to try and use the slipstream to get past on the soft compound tyres, I believe, there for the Alfa Romeo driver. That is a bit of a bold call. Purple in the middle sector for SJ, and Wilson's actually going to try and get this place back down into turn number 14. Is he going to send it up the inside? This could get a little bit messy. The bounces over the curb on the inside. Thankfully, no contact. Looked like GWS and Blue Fire were in the walls just behind them. I wonder if the AlphaTauri was pushed into the wall, but it's Geek leading us away 2 seconds ahead of this cluster of cars behind.
Yeah, we've finally got some much calmer and more clean racing now, as as now people are starting to settle into their places just a little bit now. As Unknown Relic is still trying to battle with AD to get that second spot on the podium. As Wahali Warrior as well, just looking around, seeing what he can do there. With still no DRS yet. Should be activated after this lap. Here, as Geek is now just flying into the lead. Now setting his sights on the end of the race instead of trying to think about maybe if AD is going to be attacking, but it looks like Alpha getting past Alex, and now Alpha and Matty, two front running drivers, just down there, barely scoring any points. Scoring much fewer points than they should be this race here.
Yeah, and Alex flew over the escape road, dropped a couple of places. Look at Unknown Relic. He's pushing 80 through this middle sector, and I wonder if the Alpine is going to be close enough to make a move down this long the Las Vegas strip straight. This should be fairly straightforward. 80 will pull over to the left-hand side to try and go defensive, but I think he's going to be an absolute sitting duck. Can't actually pull alongside. Must be running higher wings, the Alpine driver behind, because 80 has got some really good straight-line speed here. This is not what you would have expected with the use of slipstream and some battery. Woolly Blobs has left the session. The Ferrari currently running 12th. They're going to be side-by-side into 14. Can 80 hold it around the outside? Yes, he can. ZZ and Wahali Warrior battling over 4th and 5th behind. I think there's contact, yes. The Aston Martin, you could just see it in the background there. Front wing flying off in the background and surely going to be coming into the pits. Look who's in P5, though. Matty recovering brilliantly up into 5th. This will be when the Aston Martin comes in. What a recovery job so far. SJ and Almadulia on the offensive in 6th and 7th. Battling round turn number 1. We've got the Alpine of Wilson going very wide through turn 1. The Mercedes stays ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Alpha gets ahead of Wilson, and it's Alex out rounding out the top 10 at the moment. Position changes all over the field. I think Unknown Relic is still trying to get the lead, second place, up the inside into turn number 5. Will 80 fight it really hard around the outside? I'm amazed there's no contact. They got so close, but a little bit of a wobble on the exit gives Wahali Warrior the opportunity to maybe steal 3rd place in that final spot on the podium. Doesn't think about an audacious lunge into turn number 7 and sits behind. But this trio fighting incredibly hard for 2nd.
They are really going at it while Geek is making the most of this right now. He's already 5.7 seconds ahead of the pack, absolutely storming ahead. We've got ZZ and Woody just down there, with a broken wing and quite an unfortunate way to pretty much ruin their race at this point. Really, they're not going to be trying to catch up anytime soon. These three, though, absolutely just battling at every single corner that they can get their hands on. Going 3 wide now, down into the braking zone of turn 14. Absolutely insane. AD just getting pipped out there with no DRS, left as a sitting duck, as now Unknown really gets just as able to stay past Wahali Warrior there, and AD just thinking, well, maybe we can make up any places. Now Matty Mumi's now in this fight as well, and now we've got 4 people fighting for P2 in this race, as Geek is just absolutely smiling behind his screen there, and we've got Wahali Warrior 3 wide into turn 1.
Matty's got to be careful.
This is absolutely incredible.
Matty's got to be really careful he doesn't get caught up in another incident with drivers around him fighting really hard. 80 was trying to get 2nd place only a few moments ago. Now struggling to hold on to 3rd and 4th. Wahali Warrior and the Alfa Romeo side by side. Brilliant exit from the Alfa Romeo. Must be running lower wings because he flies past the Red Bull and reclaims 3rd place. We'll try and get back up into 2nd as Unknown Relic managed to get that place down into turn 14. But yeah, Matty cruising up to the back of this trio, now becoming a quad. And you think the Williams is going to breeze past these guys if he can keep it clean, which is proving very, very difficult. You've got to stay out of trouble. But like you said, Geek is going to be smiling. You could probably see that smile from here. 6.5 seconds clear. It's been a long time without a race victory for the Ferrari driver. It's looking very, very good for the time being.
Yeah, it looks to be quite well in control of this lead so far, as people are starting to pull away from each other. Unknown Relic's already started to pull already pulled out of DRS range of AD. Although the Wahali Warrior and Matty are all within there for that final spot on the podium. Maybe they're thinking that they could just maybe make a move now, as we see Matty getting past Wahali Warrior.
Great price of 1, 2 for the price
great
of 1.
Recovery, but AD now also getting pipped out there, a sitting duck with no DRS as well. Unknown
Relic's
Relic
gone
as well.
wide. Relic went deep into the corner. Sorry to Kai in there. Matty spun round. I think it's the Alfa Romeo. 80 clipping the Williams. Are we going to get another safety car? No. In the walls again. The Williams driver, the reigning champion, tumbling towards the lower reaches of the top 10. But that was all caused by the Alpine of Relic going deep into turn 14. Everyone concertinaed up behind. They had to check up. And Matty was the big loser. Got clipped round. And now Relic struggling to hold on to second place. Here comes Wahali Warrior. Is there damage for any of these drivers? No. The hard tyres on the Red Bull. He's going to try and swing it around the outside. Surely he won't have the grip. And no, the door is slammed firmly shut, and the Alpine holds on to second for the time being. No DRS for the Red Bull, interestingly enough. How good your straight line speed, though, on the run up to turn 5? Not good enough. 80 sits in behind them, with Alfa has recovered brilliantly also from the contact earlier on into fifth, and then the Mercedes of Almadulia behind them. Alfa looking racy, trying to get past 80 in that Alfa Romeo. The hard tyres not working for these guys, as the McLaren getting very close to the back of the Alfa Romeo, almost pushing him through this section. Now has a little look around the outside, but can't get past.
Matty's got another massive recovery job in front of him now. Now we see Alfa getting past 80 as well. 80 just dropping places left, right, and centre to now from P3 to P5 as Alfa is now just storming past with a great recovery drive from him. But yeah, Matty. Oh, and we've now got a Unknown Relic just went straight into the wall there on the exit of turn 12. Has now dropped all the. Drops right behind everyone there as now he's just fighting for another chance to recover his positions there. But Matty Mumu's got a massive job ahead of him there as he's now got to claw his way back up through the field. And Alfa and Unknown Relic getting incredibly racy, and
Relic's
that's Unknown Relic is now beached. He can't get out. His tyres are moving. His rear. Oh. And he's just reset to the track. Okay, then. Yeah, he just bottomed out, and the plank was just riding on top of the curb. That's one of the hallmarks of these massive curves that you can have around the circuit. You got to be careful. If you run the car too low, you'll start bottoming out. Oh, and we've got an Aston Martin facing the wrong direction as well. GWS almost was having quite a decent drive there as well, just trying to just claw away at the time. Now goes right down to the back by his teammate of Zizi.
And 80s, meanwhile, managed to get back up into second place, or goes a little bit deep. Alpha's dropped behind the Mercedes of Almadulia, who's now on the back of Wahali Warrior as well. Still got 4 cars scrapping over second, third, fourth, and fifth. Geek is now 12, nearly 13 seconds clear. Going to be absolutely licking his lips. Matty's back up into seventh. Can the Red Bull of Wahali Warrior try and get past the Alfa Romeo? He's defending pretty nicely through these kinks of 10, 11, and up towards 12. It's the Mercedes that sends it down the inside. This is going to end badly. Yes, it does. Round we go with Almadulia facing the wrong way. Manages to keep it out of the barriers. Just a little bit of a slide, and no damage, I think, endured by the Mercedes there. We'll carry on in P5. So messy. People struggling to get through corners side by side. Alpha will be next to try and get past the Red Bull of Wahali Warrior. But we're barely halfway through. This is so crazy.
It's been so crappy, so scrappy recently. Where people are just trying to find whatever grip that there is around the circuit, and it's just so tight and twisty. I mean, it's not like Singapore or Monaco, but you've just got nowhere to go in some of these corners, especially down into turn 14, where you can barely go too wide through there. So yeah, we're just seeing people just making a couple mistakes where they probably wouldn't be in other places, and they're just catching themselves off guard, if anything, really, and causing a bit of a domino effect through the back, through to the back of the chain, really.
Well, we're on lap 15, and this has been so chaotic. What we have to bear in mind as well is Geek is going to have to stop again. He's on the medium tyres. He can't go the whole race distance on those tyres. He pitted under the first safety car, I think it was, which was before lap 5. Cannot do 20 laps on those tyres, so we'll have to stop again. The hard runners could go to the end. It's going to be quite the chore. We'll have to wait and see when Geek decides to come into the pits for a new set of boots. But yes, this battle is going to continue. Wahali Warrior not as close to 80 as Alpha is to himself, and could be under pressure down to turn 12. We saw what happened this time last lap. There was a little bit of contact going into this corner. Are we going to repeat the feat? No. Alpha decides sensibly to sit behind and wait for the massive DRS straight that is coming up.
Yeah, he's just looking to just see what he can do, really. He's just trying to make sure that he's got enough ERS here. Probably just harvesting as much as possible for the next few corners. There's 80 there. You can see his lights were blinking, so he's just recovering as much as possible, just leaving himself open there for Wahali Warrior to just breeze through there with the DRS. So yeah, I feel like Geek here, if he pits anytime soon for a new set of tyres, he's got a very good shot of pitting for a set of softs and just going hyper aggressive against the people that he's got to make for the positions that he's got to make up.
Well, Harley Warriors dropped back down into fourth, by the way. 80 back up to second. Alpha, here we are, side by side through turn number 1. The Red Bulls trying to hold on to these places. They're swapping places pretty much every corner as we go side by side through turn 3. We've shown that it can be difficult to get one car through this corner. Thankfully, they managed to get both of them through. They're going to stay side by side on the run up towards turn 5. But look, straight line speed for Wahali Warrior must be absolutely terrible because Alpha, he's got DRS. He didn't have that much better an exit. He just flew straight past, and that looked very easy. And now the McLaren can set his sights on trying to get past 80, who is really the cork in the bottle at the moment. These 3 cars caught up behind the Alfa Romeo. As they concertina up, he had to check up behind. I think Wahali Warrior makes contact, and that is ambitious from the Mercedes of Almadoulia. Tried to send it up the inside, had a bit of a tank slap and managed to keep it in the straight and narrow, but holds 5th for the time being. Matty's catched these guys extremely quickly. Second place, still very much a possibility for the Williams, despite all of the escapades that have been suffered by the reigning champion. These guys continue to fight very hard and some slightly opportunistic and maybe a little bit daft overtaking manoeuvres.
Yeah, you got some. You're just trying to, really trying to be really opportunistic here. As now we've got Alpha just trying to get past 80 with DRS here. He's probably going to get past rather well. There's quite a long straight here to use that DRS, and who's that? Well, Harley Warrior just trying to see what else he can do as well. Just looking around, seeing if maybe he could pip 80 off with the with his DRS advantage, but it looks like he's able to keep that under control rather well.
Trying to steal the place back though, using the battery, I'd imagine, very tactically to try and get the place back. The guy behind is able to get through, but then 80, just what I assume is a use of some battery, just flies straight back past on the very next straight. So this is going to be hugely frustrating for these guys. Matty's been overtaken by Wilson. Matty, he's in the pits. The thing hasn't come up on the side, but the Williams is in the pits for a new set of tyres, I believe.
Oh, yeah, and he is as well. Also, I just need to point out as well, I think Willie Blob's just disconnected there for a moment, so I think he actually might be ghosted right now.
Mistake from Alpha.
Oh, yeah, and he's just gone a little bit wide there, and that's opened the door up nicely for AD, and they're just trying to scrap back at each other. They've just always on each other, these two, fighting constantly for this P2 here in the race.
They're battling so hard. I wonder who's going to bite the bullet and maybe coming for a new set of tyres. The Mercedes driver, Almadoulia, at the back, is potentially favourite on those medium tyres. We'll probably have to stop at some stage. But yeah, Alpha finally getting up into second place. Probably not going to hold on to it though, because 80s look pretty straight, pretty I can't think of the right word. Pretty sharp in a straight line, pretty speedy. That's what I was trying to look. But has a terrible exit out of turn 12. Under pressure massively now from the Red Bull. But we've seen that Wahali Warrior has dreadful straight line speed, so shouldn't be able to get through. Look at the closing speed for the Alfa Romeo on the back of the Papaya McLaren. This should be very straightforward. Alpha's got to be careful he doesn't get overtaken by the Red Bull as well on the run up to turn 14. It's only one place lost, and Alpha and 80 regains second place.
80's just gone. Looks like pretty much gone for a 0-0 setup here with the with his front and rear wing, just absolutely breezing past likes of Alpha and Wahali Warrior, and now they're both driving into the pits here for a fresh set of boots. Looks like they're going to be the ones biting the bullet first and going on to the medium compound tires, I'd say. So it looks like 80 that leaves the door open for 80 to try perform the overcut here. And try and make it work, but we're not too sure how the pace has gone so far. Geek has been putting out some massive numbers here, already 16 seconds ahead in what is about 10 laps or so, but we will have to see how he fares when he jumps onto the soft tyres at the latter stages of this race.
Medium tyres for the McLaren, soft tyres for the Mercedes, and I think a front wing change in there as well. Further forward, 80 still under pressure from Wahali Warrior. This is probably the time, though, that Geek can get a new set of tyres on. Big gap between third and fourth. Wilson, 10 seconds behind the Red Bull on 16-lap-old hard tyres. Goodness me, they are going to feel particularly rubbish at this stage. Looking around though, Zizi in the pits for a new set of softs as well. Geek comfortably out in front, 17 seconds. Half a second the gap between these two. It'll be interesting to see is Matty, we spoke about him coming into the pits earlier. He is 1.6 seconds behind Alpha. So the undercut has worked. Second place very much still possible.
Yeah, Matty's really, pulling himself up and down the grid. against his own will, granted, but he's done an amazing job going from P11 to P6 with this amazing undercut that he's performed already with the medium tyres. So he's definitely in a position here to be fighting at the latter stages of this race for a potential race win, albeit with slightly older tyres. So we'll have to see how his pace differs to the other guys of Alpha and AD and Harley Warrior once they pit. Geek as well. I think maybe we could see a battle for P1 once he comes in as well.
I think we could have a bit of a hunt going on in the final few laps of this race, because I believe AD and Wahali Warrior, they've stayed out this long. They must be going to the end on these hard tyres. So we're going to have to wait and see if Alpha and Matty can gain the 15-second margin between these two sets of drivers. Geek will surely be coming into the pits at some point and will rejoin behind these guys as it stands. With Harley Warrior unable to get past the Alfa Romeo, just the wrong setup, it has to be said. The straight line speed doesn't look good enough for the Red Bull and can't use the slipstream ERS and the straight line speed to get through. So AD looking comfortable, well, as comfortable as you can be when you're constantly under pressure through the middle sector. Alpha and Matty 5th and 6th trying to close up firstly towards Wilson, who you'd imagine is also going to the end in this Grand Prix. 4th place for the Alpine, but on 16 lap older tyres, he's going to get caught at an alarming rate of knots.
Yeah, this looks like the top 4 there are going to be reeled in quite quickly, I'd say. Maybe we could even see Geek go through till the end on these medium tyres, although it would be quite a feat of quite a feat for him to do so. But we have seen it done before, I believe, with Amron at Austria last year, where he went quite the distance on a medium set of tyres.
I don't know why you'd risk it, though. He's got the win absolutely in the bag. Yes, he'd probably have to make some overtakes, but he'd be on so much fresher tyres. Matty uses the DRS to fly past Alpha, meanwhile. Got slightly older tyres, but that doesn't dampen his spirits as the blue car moves up ahead of the Papaya McLaren into 5th place. But he tags him going round turn 16. A little bit messy again between these two. They've been they can't get enough of each other. I think that's the 3rd time they've made contact. Alpha pretty much pushing him round the corner, almost pushed him into the wall for the 2nd time in the Grand Prix. Matty, I don't think, will be particularly pleased with the McLaren driver behind, and will try and soar off into the distance to catch the guys in front. They can't be racing too hard though, because the gap's still 14 seconds to 2nd placed AD, who's still under pressure from Wahali Warrior. Yes, the Alfa Romeo's got a penalty, but the Red Bull doesn't. They've got to close that gap in 5 laps. They're going to continue racing. This feels stupid, to be honest. Like they've got so much ground to make up, and they're costing each other time.
Yeah, they need to work together here. They need to use the DRS advantage that they've both got to start slingshotting each other forwards into this race, because again the DRS is incredibly powerful. As Matty makes almost doesn't make turn 8 there.
Drift.
And he just losing the back end there as he tries to make turn 9 as smooth as possible for this run down into turn 12 here. But yeah, we're not really seeing those two work together and try get into the top positions to fight this to the end. As the gap is actually growing a little bit from between Wilson and Alpha, as Harley Warrior overtakes AD there as well.
Geek in the pits as well, I think. Geek into the box out in front. Yes, confirmed at the side. Geek finally decides to come in. He should come out behind Wahali Warrior and AD, although comfortably ahead of Wilson. We'll see what tyres. Yep, red striped soft tyres for the Scarlet Red Ferrari as he comes down pit road. And where is he going to be in respect to those guys battling over what will become the race lead?
I could see Wahali Warrior coming out just on the inside of that battle here, as we potentially go 3 wide here, and he keeps the lead in front of those drivers. That was an amazing stop there from Geek to retain this lead, and he's probably just going to run away as quickly as possible and try not to give those two the DRS advantage down the long straights here. Yeah, that was an absolutely that was just such an easy decision to make there, as Wilson. As Alpha is now pipped Wilson as well to P4 there, as Matty Mumu seems to be just dropping back a little bit, but he's probably going to be a little bit fired up to fight Wilson on 19 lap old hard tyres now.
Well, this is the race situation. Geek is going to waltz away out in front, already 2 seconds the gap. Timed his pit stop absolutely perfectly and is now on course to take a first race win in many a long time. I think it might be over a year since Geek has won a BUSR F1 race, so that'll be quite the feat. And the drought for someone like Geek is finally going to be over. The battle for second will continue on, but Alpha, this is what we need to look at as AD gets back past Harley Warrior. I think they are starting to work together now, using the DRS to slingshot past each other, because coming very quickly on much fresher medium tyres is the McLaren of Alpha. It was 15 seconds when they came out of the pits as Matty gets past Wilson as well. Now down to 10 seconds. 4 laps to go. It's around 2.5 seconds a lap. Very achievable. They're going to be under pressure later on in this race. And if Matty goes with the McLaren as well, this could be the continuation of our 4-car scrap that we saw 10 laps ago.
It looks to be that, I mean, Alpha and Matty have made their way jointly up through this pack together pretty much. Where they're both down in about 9th and 10th. Now making their way up to a potential podium finisher, but now they've got to decide. Well, now they've got to decide amongst themselves. Who's going to be taking that final podium position away from either Harley Warrior or AD here, as it seems to be that Harley Warrior and AD are still fighting massively over this, but they've only got like a lap or two to then they catch up to the back of them, but then they've only got about a lap or two to then actually overtake them, which is going to be the more difficult part.
Well, Alpha's gained a 1.5 seconds already. Bear that in mind on this lap. We're only halfway through it.
Yeah, they can use DRS as much as they can to try and make their way up, but at the end of the day, you still got to pass them here. It's still quite relatively tricky to try pass somebody, especially the likes of AD, who's on an absolute bullet of a setup here, who can just absolutely stream past people and on this very low downforce setup that they've generated.
Well, this time last lap, the gap was just over 10 seconds. This lap, the gap is just under 8.5 seconds, but you can see the DRS training that they're using really helping them. They've gained 0.5 second back down that strip. So this isn't going to be over until the very final lap. We've got 3 to go as Geek starts lap number 23. Under 8 seconds. Alpha's coming very quickly. Matty is going with him, but they've got to be careful of the Mercedes of Almadulia behind on those new soft tyres as well. 3 seconds the gap as the Mercedes did get past the Alpine of Wilson a few laps ago. SJ trying to go with them as well. Wilson, I think, is going to lose another place. It's going to be 8th and 9th. Well, 8th and 9th for the Alpines. 10 seconds worth of penalties will kick Unknown Relic down a few places as well. Wooly Blobs has had connection difficulties. It's a shame because that Ferrari looked pretty quick in qualifying. And 7.3 seconds the gap now. 8.5 seconds out in front. Geek is looking very comfortable. AD, we need to remember this. Unless anyone around him picks up a podium, he will not get that podium, the Alfa Romeo.
No, he needs to...
Oh, he clouts the barrier.
Ooh.
Surely that's going to be damage. That looked like a big whack. We'll have to see as he comes past. No damage. That must be a... How strong is that Alfa Romeo?
It's probably made out of steel, that thing. But yeah, it looks like we've got no front wing damage from that Alfa Romeo there either. As Harley Warrior looks to be just getting a little bit finicky on the brakes there, almost going into the back of AD by the looks of it from the camera angle.
I think he's realised that he's been held up here. Alpha's coming very, very quickly, just 5.5 seconds the gap now. The problem for Harley Warrior is he can't get past on the straight because the Alfa Romeo is so rapid on the straight part of the circuit. So this is really costing the Red Bull. He's much quicker in the middle sector and could probably pull out a second and get the Alfa Romeo out of DRS range, but he can't get past. 6 seconds the gap. Matty is going with Alpha, 1.3 seconds behind the Mercedes of Almadulia, struggling to keep up. So it should be that 4-car scrap that we saw earlier. If they can catch up with 2 laps to go, this is going to go right down to the wire. 3 seconds a lap needed for Alpha.
He's going to really have to pull this one out of the bag here and hope that AD and Harley Warrior start making a couple of mistakes here. I feel like it's definitely doable without them, without these two fighting, but definitely does help here as they keep just clawing away at that time. 5.4, 5.3 seconds, now 5.1 seconds, just absolutely just melting away that time as much as possible. Matty without DRS, but still. Oh, and Harley Warrior claps the barrier there. It looks like he's still okay to drive that thing, but that's kind of hampered him a little bit in his fight against AD for P2, although AD does have a 3-second time penalty, so he's probably just holding back there and just making sure that he doesn't do anything too stupid.
Huge luck for both drivers. Smashed the barrier, both of them incredibly hard it looked, but no damage, at least from what we can see cosmetically. There might be a little bit of damage, some light green or potentially yellow front wing that we can't quite see. The gap is under 4 seconds. Alpha needs to continue to keep his foot planted to the floor if he's going to catch these two battling over second and third. The first gap we need to look at is the 3 seconds back from 80. That will give Alpha that final spot on the podium, and then we need to see if he can get close enough. Is this the opportunity though for Harley Warrior? Finally close enough coming onto the strip and flies past the Alfa Romeo, but will 80 do the tactic that we've seen in previous laps and use the battery just to fly straight back past the Red Bull? He's been doing it to cars that have got much lower wings than Harley Warrior. This should be pretty easy, but I think the Red Bull's going to try and bolt now as we start the final lap with Geek. 14.5 seconds the margin between first and second place. Over the line we go in the battle for second place. 80 will lose out on the road because of that penalty. Looks up the inside, thinks better of it. These hard tyres are going to be absolutely screaming. They're so old at this point, over 20 laps nearly for these two guys. Alpha only gained 2 seconds on the previous lap, so it's a lot of work to do if the McLaren's going to catch them. 4 seconds the margin between third and fourth. 80 still looking to try and get this place back from a Harley Warrior. He needs to get dragged along really if he's going to keep Alpha out of his the 3 second window. Up the inside we go though into turn number 5. Will they keep it clean? Both have hit the wall here in the previous couple of laps. Well, Harley Warrior keeps it to the left hand side. He's going to keep his foot to the floor. This is not going to be conducive because Alpha is gaining all the time. They're going to hang it around the outside. 80, does he manage to keep hold of second place for the time being? Yes, gets back ahead of the Red Bull, but look, Alpha just 2 seconds back. Matty a further second behind. This is going to go right to the very end, and if Alpha can get in DRS range, he'll fancy his chances on the run up to the line.
Matty's got to be absolutely gunning it right now. Obviously Alpha's now within that podium position with AD's penalty, but Matty's now thinking maybe he can get a P4 from that 3 second time penalty as well. As now we see Harley Warrior just trying as much as he can to try and get past AD. He's
going to get DRS.
This massive run down onto the strip here. He's probably got it as long as he's got enough for ERS.
Alpha,
has he got enough?
He does. Alpha
yeah,
does
and he's
get
made
DRS.
it past.
He's not close enough, Alpha behind them. Meanwhile, we've got to cut to the front of the field very briefly. 18 seconds the margin out in front. Geek absolutely dominant. It fell into place early on. Takes the win here in Las Vegas. This is the battle we've got to be careful of though. Well, Harley Warrior could be a first podium of the season for the Red Bull. 80's going to try and get second place on the road, but will drop down into fifth by the end of the Grand Prix. Round the final corner we go. We're going to be side by side up to the line. They've got to keep it clean. Round the outside he swoops. 80 does get up into second over the line, but will drop back down into fifth courtesy of that 3 second penalty. Exciting stuff. Alpha 7/10 back. Needed one more lap himself and Matty if they were going to get up into second and third. Brilliant recovery from both. I think
wow.
Matty will have a little bit to say about Alpha's driving throughout the Grand Prix, but matters not at the moment, and it is the McLaren on the podium. Alma Dulia comes home in 6th ahead of SJ. Wilson does come home in 8th. Unknown Relic with 10 seconds worth of penalties is going to tumble down the order. GWS already through. Blue Fire led the race at one point, got swallowed up a little bit and then pitted and hasn't managed to recover since. Blue Fire into 10th. ZZ over the line along with Alex Louch, and it'll be Willy Blobs who has disconnected a few times in this race. That will finish 14th. I need a drink. Let's have a drink. Too many words having to be spoken.
Drink break. Oh yeah, that was incredible. That from Geek, that was probably one of the most dominant drives I've seen. That was just from start to finish. Well, from pretty much flags to finish, really. Let's be honest with how that first couple of laps went. We can discount those laps as being non-existent. This
is the problem with interviews here. I want to talk to everyone. I think
it's
probably only fair that we talk to the top 3, if that's okay. Matty's going to miss out, unfortunately. He might still get a podium if Alpha picks up a penalty for some of the collisions. We'll get Alpha's take on it, of course. We'll have to see what the McLaren driver says. But Geek will be delighted. First win for a long time. And once it fell into place with Matty getting taken out and Cameron Searle on the opening lap, crashing through turn 3, it was a very composed and controlled performance for the Scuderia.
Yeah, no, that was just very, very methodic from Geek there, where he just knew what he was doing. He knew that was the pace he had to set, and obviously after he pitted for those soft tyres, he just absolutely went for it and pulled out a massive 18-second margin against 80 there as well. Quite annoying from AD
as well.
Yeah, I believe so as well. Yeah, quite annoying from AD with that that 3-second penalty, like quite early on as well in the race. So we picked up that, I think, for track limits. So we could, you could just see, well, we could have seen anyone else pick up penalties there, but it looked like it came down to that penalty being the deciding factor for the other two positions on the podium. But yeah, that was just immense. No other way to put that.
Describe it, to be fair.
We had the top, second down to fifth at one point, second down to sixth at one point, fighting for P2. That lot just fighting to the absolute end. Matty having an incredible recovery twice, for that matter, and also with Matty as well, just about impeding the Haas there as well. In qualifying of Dylan Fernando, just almost getting in the way there, but it looked to be resolved in a way because he seemed to have just about enough room in qualifying to get past.
I feel like that's the kind of race that we need a highlights package to watch that back, and the highlights package could probably be half an hour long. It was absolutely insane, brilliant to watch. Some really good racing in there, some not so good racing as well, but was hugely exciting. A pleasure to be involved in. Championship wise, we haven't quite got it updated yet. Obviously, Cameron Searle will lose that championship lead and drop comfortably behind his rivals with that DNF. And suddenly, Geek is sitting very pretty, I believe, at the top of the standings. Otherwise, Alpha finished 5th last week, gets a podium this week, for the time being at least. Matty was 2nd last week, ends up 4th. And AD, I know, be disappointed not to get that 2nd where the Alfa Romeo driver finished on the road. But it's a good way to back up a fairly solid 7th place from last weekend as well.
Cool. Well, it looks like... we've got Massey right now waiting, although, we could talk to him. We could talk to the top 4 here.
I mean, if people,
I don't know how he wants to do this. I wouldn't mind talking to him, but I think we should start with the top 3 and see how long we run out.
We'll streamline it and talk to the top 3 if that is possible. They are just in their briefing at the moment, so we'll wait a couple of moments for those guys to join us. And I think Geek's going to be delighted. First win for quite a while, and ends that drought. And then 2 podium positions. Two new people to talk to. I don't believe we would have talked to our 2nd and 3rd place finishers before.
Not from what I remember. No, I haven't. Wouldn't really remember much from last year, but that's from what I remember. That's their first podiums.
Would you, out of all the races that you've seen,
does
that go to number 1?
Probably, yeah. I mean, number 2 is probably my first in Mexico.
That was a good one as well.
Where we had quite a bit of carnage and the scrap at the end, which I remember from Geek and Joe at the end. There, that was quite a good one to commentate over. But I'd probably say so. Yeah, I have to admit the way that everyone was, just in it really, right, all the way towards the end was just absolutely incredible.
I think, you can talk about this for real life and in esports. The best thing about our sport is unpredictability, and that is what we saw in abundance this evening. We all thought Cameron Searle was going to drive off into the sunset, never to be seen until we reached the checkered flag. I don't think anyone could have predicted what happened on the opening lap. It was not what we were expecting at all. And Matti Mumu was in the wars a lot throughout the Grand Prix as well. Managed to recover to 4th. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the incidents that people were involved in. But I think we are ready for some interviews. And what order would you like to start in? I think reverse order, 3rd, 2nd, 1st is probably where we want to go.
Yep, I'd say so. That's good.
So Alpha finished 4th on the road, but promoted to 3rd place with that penalty for 80 right at the death. And I think we'll speak to the McLaren driver first. Alpha into the call. Hello. First of all, that was a very exciting race, and you had to do a few comebacks through it as well.
I did, yes. No, there was a couple of incidents to start off with. I think there was an incident with the 2nd safety car where I paused and it sent me to the back of the field and broke my front wing. So having to pit for that and then making my way back through. So interesting race.
Yeah, and you did get caught up in a few incidents early on, especially the slightly contentious one with Matty early on. Do you want to just describe what happened there?
I think have to go have a look at that one. I think might be a simple case of missing my breaking point and yeah, see what happens. But yeah, I say not really much more to it. I think I missed my breaking point, might have hit him. Second one later on, not sure what happened again with that. I know there was a slight kerfuffle at the second to final corner, but yeah.
Other than that, though, pace was really strong. You managed to catch the guys towards the end. You did get that podium with the penalty for AD. One more lap and it would have been P2, but you must be satisfied with the podium.
I am, yes. I say this is my first podium in BUSR, so I think I can be happy with that. I can't really complain.
Absolutely. Alex, what do you want to say to third place?
Yeah, that was just an incredible drive all around there. Well, there were just so many things that happened. I just can't really nail down on one particular thing. Bit of a bold strategy to. Was it? No, it wasn't you. No, sorry. I thought you stayed out on the hard tyres there and tried to make that work. No, that was the other two. But yeah, that was just an all-around. I mean, did you try with Matty at the end to just work together and slingshot each other to fight for that last podium position? Like, I mean, you guys had the pace, but trying to identify that you were faster together.
Yeah, I think at that point it was getting towards the end of the race, and I felt like if I stayed with him, then he might get me towards the end. So I think my only strategy at that point was to try and pull away as fast as I could. Thankfully, I broke the DRS, I broke the 1 second, so I managed to get him in the end. But yeah, it was close between myself and Edie, obviously, with the 3 second penalty. So yeah, worked out in the end.
Yeah. But that was an amazing race overall, and I think you'd be very happy with the first podium of your BUSR career.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was very good.
I just want to quickly ask about the first couple of races as a whole. Obviously, we didn't get to see what went on last week, but you got a P5 in the end. Backing that up with a third, you must be pretty pleased with the way that the season started.
I am, yes. No, this is way better than anything I could have expected. I think last race in Australia, it was a bit of a cleaner race, I might say. Everybody at the front kept it clean, and it was good, decent pace. So looking at the future races, I feel confident with what I can expect.
Absolutely, and very well done. A podium and some really good pace shown throughout throughout this evening's action as well. So very well done.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for talking to us. So, third place out of the way, we'll now talk to second place Aria, and I've got to ask a few questions about that battle that we saw with Adi. Aria, hello. Our Harley Warrior takes second place. It was a bit of a sprint over the line. How would you sum up this evening's action?
It was very interesting to say the least. A lot of different things happened during the race, and I just got lucky, I guess. Lucky with a podium.
Did you have slightly higher wings than the guys around you? Because we saw that you were struggling to get past 80.
Yeah, on all the straights, 80, even with DRS and ERS, I was barely catching him. So I think I had a bit too much high wings during the race. But, I stayed. I saw he had a 3 second penalty, so I just stayed with him and decided, just chill with him for a bit. Yeah.
How under pressure were you when you saw that Alpha and Matty were catching you at quite the rate of knots?
Yeah, so I looked on the top left. It said they were 10 seconds behind. I think it was like 5 laps to the end. Then I looked 3 laps. They're like 7 seconds. And I just saw them getting closer and closer, and I was terrified, especially the last lap, because I was trying to overtake Edie, but he was so fast in the straight and stuff. And then they nearly caught up, and I was very stressed. I'm not even gonna lie.
Strategy-wise, obviously you and Adi decided that the hard tyres to the end was the strat. Was there ever a point in the race where you thought about pitting for a second time, get a new set of tyres on?
Yeah, so when Alpha pitted, I was considering pitting, but then pitting for mediums or softs. But then I saw there was only, I think, 7 or 8 laps, and I thought, oh, maybe the hards would just stick to the end, and I just went with my gut, and it worked out in the end.
Well, it turned out to be the right decision because they weren't able to pass you and Alex. It was a very, very good drive, very consistent performance throughout the Grand Prix.
Yeah, that really could have gone either way, to be honest. I mean, you and Adi went side by side on many occasions, more than I can count. And both of you kept it very clean through all of the corners, especially through sector 2 as well. I mean the higher downforce of your setup probably just helped out just a little bit as well, where you're just able to keep it a little bit through sector 2, where you're setting some pretty decent lap times through that sector. But yeah, you were both very respectful of each other, trying to make sure that you both survived towards the end of that race as well.
Exactly. Yeah, we saw Alpha catching us, so we just had to be careful with each other. Yeah.
Was he much of a threat, or did you think that it was kind of just trying to chuck it to the back of your head kind of thing?
During this 7 laps to the end, I thought I just kept it at the back of the head. I was like, oh, they probably won't catch us, because I saw him, Alpha, and Matty kind of fighting. But then near the end, I just saw them get closer and closer. And I don't know if you guys saw, but the second to last lap, I hit the wall and I lost both my wings. So I was even more stressed then. I thought I was going to keep up with AD and lose my podium, but I guess, God was on my side.
You did have wing damage there as well then?
Yeah, so I had both my wings were like dark yellow or orange colours. Yeah, so fairly stressed about that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes it even more impressive.
Very well, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fairly decent drive, yeah.
Well, very well done. A podium for your troubles. It was an adventurous race, but coming out in a solid position with a good handful of points.
Yeah, it was indeed.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us, and we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
And now, this is the time we've been waiting for. It didn't have the most interesting race from an action perspective, but I think Geek will be incredibly satisfied with the way that planned out, because it is going to be a first race win for quite a while. And if we bring in our race winner, it's been a little while since I've been able to say that, but Geek, you are a race winner again.
Oh my God. Yeah. Tell me about it. 2 years. Actually, wow. Yes. No, I'm not kidding. No, a year. Sorry, my bad. My math is not mathing. My heart is racing. My adrenaline's in my veins. I'm so happy.
Well, sometimes you do need the rub of the green to go your way, and you probably weren't expecting to see what happened on the opening lap and then the carnage that ensued behind you. But once everything did kind of fall into the place, you controlled that race beautifully, and you had so much more pace than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've also got to give credit where it's due to my good friend Cameron, who it's really unfortunate his DNF. From my POV, it just looked like he had a snap, and then it looked like he was going to go to the wall, but it didn't look like the impact that would have DNF'd him. So commiserations to him. I feel bad, but no. Afterwards, it was just a case of just doing the best job I could. I honestly had no idea what had happened to Massey. To be honest, I was just paying attention to keep it on track, not bin it. Because I mean, Australia last week, I was not having the best of times. It was very oversteery, so I was fully focused this time to keep the car going, and yeah.
What did you think was possible before the race had started? Because obviously Cameron was miles clear of everybody else. He looked like he was going to have the pace comfortably to win the race. But you weren't too far away from Matty, and there were a couple of other drivers around you that were pretty close together. Was the podium probably the initial aim?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say the fight for P2 was probably my initial target. Time trial leaderboards, Matty and myself were very, very close. I think it was 4,000ths or something around that area. We'd both put in the same time. My qualifying lap, I played it very safe. Just my heart was racing, and I didn't want to, throw it away all on the final one. But huge shock to see Cameron DNF, and then as I said, I have no idea what happened to Matty. I'm assuming he got caught up in the carnage. I was hearing scattered voices in the voice chat, and he's got an orange rear wing. He's been spun multiple times. He's gone straight on at turn one. I mean, I feel bad for him at the same time, but this sparks my title contention, maybe.
Well, you do lead the championship.
Oh my God, that's the second time ever that's happened. No pressure. I now need to actually do something with it.
Well, Well, we saw Matty. He was very much in the wars for the whole race, but you managed to keep it clean. And Alex, it was a very accomplished drive, and one could say it was the drive of a future champion.
That was something else, really. I mean, you pulled off a massive gap in both of your stints, for that matter. And then, yeah, you just, I mean, credit where credit is due, really. That was great time management there as well. I mean, when you came into the pits, did you expect to be in front of the two battling ahead? Of AD and or Harley Warrior, or did you expect to be within that mix as well and potentially having to fight them?
So I knew it was going to be incredibly close. Cameron was actually, I wouldn't say he was doing like a what's the word, engineering. That's it. But like, yeah, he was really helpful in giving tips and everything, and telling me the gap when I wasn't looking up at my leaderboard or so. But no, I knew the pit lane in Vegas is an interesting one because it's like Singapore where you lose time on the entry rather than get penalised 5 seconds. The exit obviously comes out into turn 2, and I believe the pit lane time is like 17, 18 seconds, which I believe was the gap when I boxed. Initially, I got quite anxious because I was like, oh, am I going to come out in the mix? I don't really want to fight them because they've been fighting hard like mad for God knows how many laps. Luckily, came out ahead because they had to navigate turn 1. I put the hammer down through turn 2, and by the time we'd exited sector 1, I was already 1.6 ahead, which even I was surprised by, to be honest. So I don't think it would have been the end of the world if I came up behind them or in that mix. DRS is incredibly powerful, and I was barely using the overtake button. But I'm happy to keep the track position and the clean air, and then went on to get the fastest lap.
We pulled 18 seconds on them, so
yeah,
it probably would have been quite straightforward.
Even at the end of the race, you pulled about 18 seconds on them. It was like what?
Oh
3
God!
seconds a lap faster as well. Yeah, you were miles ahead. We were still commentating on what is it? Turn 13, 14 when you
strip,
won. Yeah. It was quite a lead that you brought out of that pretty much absolutely nowhere, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like I fully wasn't expecting it either. I was I'll be honest, like I barely have had time to practice this week. I've had other personal issues to attend to, as well as uni work, and I've recently just turned ABS back off because last week, and I found out that was one of the reasons why it felt so numb to drive. It just it felt like it was limiting me to a small degree.
Yeah.
So but I was struggling with turn 3 and the corner that leads onto the Vegas strip with rear locking. Thankfully, I managed to get that sorted. And yeah, that probably doesn't answer your question, and I've probably forgotten what the original one was. But I'm happy.
Yeah,
the one in a red car.
Yeah, that was.
That's all we can ever ask.
I need to ask you about next week. Championship leader, first time in a little while. First win under your belt for a little while. The monkey's off your back. How are you feeling about Spa? It is a sprint race as well, so even more points up for grabs.
So yeah, Spa is, I mean, even in other games, ACC particularly, I absolutely love it. I know it's not the exact same in F1. The bus stop chicane's a little flat, but yeah, I'll give it my best shot, and hopefully another podium, and maybe challenge Cameron for the win. I do think he's ever so slightly that far ahead. Think back to Red Bull from last year, like he's on it, but any crack in the armor or any mistake, I'll hopefully be there to capitalize on, and yeah, just hopefully give the audience an entertaining race.
Absolutely.
Obviously clean as well, though.
That is the ideal method. But yeah, back in the winner's circle, I'm sure you must be delighted. And yeah, we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking to us.
No worries.
Well, that caps off potentially the most action-packed BUSR race I have ever seen. And
without doubt.
I think this sets up the season brilliantly because Cameron Searle, he's got to fight his way back through now. He's lost a lot of points this evening from a race that he was favourite to win. Matty managed to, it was damage limitation really, didn't have the pace necessarily to win the race and then getting caught up in other people's incidents. So coming back to fourth was a very good effort from him. And then, no Joe, Geek taking the championship lead. This could be very interesting.
Without a doubt, yeah. It's really going to be the case of just trying to find out where the limitations are, really. Just seeing if if Geek can sneak up behind Matty and Cameron, maybe when Joe comes in next week, he can put out a couple of tenths on it as well. Because he has told me that is quite a relatively strong track for him. So we could see some people climbing up through there. Maybe we get a surprise win from someone. Maybe we see someone like AD or Tom Hug or someone like that just coming through and trying to really fight up there for the top. But it is a sprint weekend. So obviously the results of the sprint will determine the position of the Grand Prix, or the good position of the Grand Prix. So we shall see how that all pans out later next week.
Was an absolute pleasure to be a part of. 10 out of 10, I have to give it. The drama, the unpredictability. I mean, I nearly died after the first 5 laps. I had no air left in my lungs. It was absolutely crazy. And I hope it is a microcosm for the rest of the season. Brilliant action and some really brilliant racing involved as well. But that has been it from us. Las Vegas, you have delivered. Thank you very much. And we'll be back next week for Spa-Francorchamps, the legendary Spa circuit where the sprint race, as you said, will be part of the makeup. During your week, you're going to get your fix of racing action. ACC is back on Monday, of course, and obviously we'll be back next Saturday. But yeah, do you want to sign us off for what has been an outstanding couple of hours of racing?
Yeah, that was one of the best races I've ever seen on the BUSR, and yeah, I can't really say much more about it really. So yeah, that we will see you all again next week. I am Alex.
I'm Tom.
And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you very much. Bye now.
There is no place and no moment in history where I could stand and say, oh, British begins here, now.